What is going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of news stories in the world of tech and PC gaming. First up, we're going to be revisiting the system requirements for Hogwarts Legacy, as the full system requirements have now been revealed. I covered this back in a video 4 months ago where we had the minimum and the recommended, but it looks like Avalanche has actually expanded on that with Ultra requirements as well as 4K Ultra requirements that are pretty demanding and also may shed light on some of the graphical features we could see in the game, like ray tracing. Also, if you remember earlier in the week, we talked about MSI Afterburner possibly going away forever because of issues with payment between MSI and the developer Alexei, who is located out of Russia. Thankfully, he has continued to work on the project in his spare time, and we actually have a new beta version, which, fingers crossed, but this could be the last release we ever see for Afterburner. Hopefully that's not the case, but it is available now, so we'll discuss that. And there's also a new AMD driver, which you may want to hear the details about, especially if you've been trying to play Witcher 3 recently on your RX 7900 GPUs. But first, today's video is brought to you by Keysfan.com and their software super deal, where you can get some of the best prices out there on Microsoft software. Especially with my coupon code, you can get half off of Windows keys, as well as 62% off on Microsoft Office products like Windows 10 Pro, Windows 11 Pro, and Office 2019 Professional Plus and Office 2021 Professional Plus. And they've also got a bundle with Windows 10 Pro and Office 2019 in the same package. To save money on Windows 10 Pro, just go ahead and add the key to your cart, which starts off at $15.17. But once you get into your cart, you can go ahead and apply my discount code at checkout, YTB50, and that will give you a shocking 50% off, bringing the price down to just over $7 at $7.58. And when you proceed to checkout, you can pay with either a credit card or PayPal, whichever one happens to fit your needs. And this also applies to Microsoft Office products, but again, you're going to get 62% off on Office products with the code YTB62 at checkout. Applying that to the $67.40 price, Office 2019 brings the price down to a stunning $25.61. So I don't know what you're waiting for. If you need your software keys, head over to keysfan.com right now and be sure to use those coupon codes at checkout. YTB50 on Windows products for half off, and YTB62 for 62% off on Microsoft Office products. So first up, we'll start with Hogwarts Legacy. I'm not going to go into too much detail on the minimum recommended requirements because I already talked about those months ago when they were released onto the Steam page for Hogwarts Legacy, which is coming fairly soon. I think it's in February, right? February 15th or something like that, pretty sure. I'm going to go ahead and Google it. Probably should have done this beforehand, but we're going to do it on the fly. Hogwarts Legacy release date, February 10th. So I was off by 5 days. And also at the end of this month, we're getting Dead Space, two of my most anticipated games of the year. Really the only two games that are coming out this year. That's like Redfall. That looks pretty cool too. But let's take a look at those minimum and recommended requirements just really quickly. Really, like I said, we already talked about this 4 months ago, but you know, for CPU side of things, they're recommending an i7 8700 or a 3600. It really seems like you're going to want a 6-core CPU for this game, as this is recommended for 1080p 60 FPS on high settings. And even for 1080p on high settings at 60 FPS, they're recommending a 1080 Ti, a 5700 XT, or an Intel Arc A770, which is fairly interesting, as an Arc A770 would likely be a fair bit better than the 1080 Ti and 5700 XT in rasterized performance. So that's a pretty big gap there and a little bit telling, and it'll get more interesting once we do get into the higher requirements for like ultra settings and stuff, as it's sort of, like I said, it sort of shed light on maybe possibly having some ray tracing effects in this game. So taking a look at the ultra requirements here on the left side, Windows 10 64-bit for the CPU, a 10700K or a 5800X, 32 gigabytes of system memory, and for the GPU, again, a 2080 Ti or a 6800 XT. No mention of an Intel GPU here, and we don't see as large a gap in terms of rasterized performance between the 2080 Ti and the 6800 XT as compared to with the recommended requirements. They do mention DirectX 12 here, 85 gigabyte SSD, and this is for 1440p, 60 FPS on ultra quality settings. And with this being DX12, fingers crossed, man. I really hope they put in shader compilation for this game and we get a good PC port. I'm looking forward to it quite a bit. Now, looking at the Ultra 4K specs, these ones definitely hit home for me, as that is how I like to game. 10700K and 5800X again, so no changes in the CPU from Ultra, which is nice to see. Again, though, 32 gigabytes of system memory. And for the GPU, a 3090 Ti or a 7900 XT, and this is for 4K 60 Ultra settings. Now, the reason I say that the GPU settings the GPU requirements may reveal that this game could have ray tracing is, again here, the 7900 XT is going to be a fair bit better than the 3090 Ti in terms of rasterized performance. So usually we don't see that big of a gap in GPUs, but as you guys know, NVIDIA is better, significantly better than AMD in terms of ray tracing. So I think this might actually be telling us that there is ray tracing in the game, because they're probably recommending for 4K with ray tracing to have a 3090 Ti, but AMD would actually need a much more powerful GPU to get even close to that. So I think that's why they're recommending a 7900 XT here. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you think Hogwarts Legacy will support ray tracing? I, for one, hope that it does. I mean, imagine, you know, walking around Hogwarts with those like glossy, like shiny, like marble floors and stuff like that, and all of the different reflections, especially like in the Great Hall or whatever, where they have like their dining room area with like all the candles floating and shit and reflective marble floors. That could just look absolutely amazing. So I'm definitely looking forward to this game and seeing what Avalanche can do with Hogwarts Legacy. Not too much longer to go. As I said, February 10th, this is going to be coming out. Next up, MSI Afterburner. As I said at the start of the video earlier in the week, we got some terrible news that we could be seeing the end of Afterburner support in the near future. If MSI and the developer from Russia cannot sort out payments so that he can actually pay his bills and continue to work on MSI Afterburner either part or full time, as he has done traditionally over the years, as this is one of the most popular, if not the most popular, overclocking and, you know, GPU utility or software that you pretty much, I feel like, need. It's anytime I do a new build, it's one of the first programs I installed so that I can get in there and tweak things, set my fan curves, undervolting, all of that stuff. So nice to see that we got a new beta release here. So this is 4.6.5 beta 4, and traditionally in the past, I don't really ever have an issue with beta releases in Afterburner. I think maybe one time, but that was years ago. So the beta releases are usually pretty safe, and you can always roll back very easily. But the important thing to note with this release, as they mentioned on Guru 3D, is that Guru 3D and MSI.com are legally allowed to distribute Afterburner. They're the only ones that are allowed to legally distribute it. So the reason they're saying that is not just to prevent people from sharing it out on other websites. It's more so to keep gamers safe that want to download that, because a lot of people out there are releasing various different versions of Afterburner with malware embedded within those files. So in order to avoid that, as I said back on Monday, you're just better off getting it from MSI.com or the Guru 3D. And this will all be linked down in the sources for today's video if you want to go ahead and grab it. But just make sure you only ever download it from one of those two places. Just best safe practices to avoid, you know, getting any malware or anything on your system. So with this release, nothing really too exciting, but always nice to be in the latest version, especially for like new hardware coming out and stuff. They added in a Windows 11 themed skins, light and dark versions, and they've also added in some experimental support for Intel 11th as well as 12th gen CPUs and mobile AMD Ryzen CPUs, and there's a bunch of other fixes and stuff in here. As I said, go ahead and just grab this over on Guru 3D with the link down below, and it also upgrades Riva Tuner Statistics Server, which you'll need for the overlay, to version 7.3.3. So if you want to grab it, this is the latest update, which you can grab right at the bottom of the page here for the Beta 4 version on MSI Afterburner. Next up, we have a new driver for AMD, and this is going to be exclusively for 7900 graphics cards, because it's addressing some issues that those cards specifically were having, I guess, since launch, really. So this is only for 7900 XTX and 7900 XT owners. If you own one of those, you'll probably want to go ahead and update to this latest driver, as it fixed quite a few important issues like intermittent driver timeout occurring when applying auto overclock performance tuning. While playing Valheim, you can get the application to crash or the driver would time out while using the Vulkan API. And the same thing was true for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, where an intermittent app crash or driver timeout may occur when ray tracing settings are enabled, and minor performance degradation may be observed after applying a factory reset of settings. So all of those issues were fixed. They unfortunately still have not fixed the high idle power issue, as that is listed in the known issues. So hopefully that's something that can get resolved soon. If you're not familiar with it, since the 7900 cards have come out, they run quite using a lot of power basically when idle at the desktop, and just, you know, not even watching videos or anything, just sitting idle at the desktop, they can draw over 100 watts, especially this is more likely when you're connected to a high refresh rate display or a 4K display, which I feel like most gamers nowadays are probably on some type of high refresh rate display, whether it be 1080, 1440, or 4K. So it's pushing out a lot more, pulling a lot more power than it really would necessarily need to sit idle at the desktop. 100 watts is quite a bit. So these cards are not super power efficient, even though AMD touted that. Unfortunately, also, we don't have any update to the driver issue that recently came into the news. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but with the 6000 series of the Radeon GPUs, so the last generation of them, where a driver revision was causing the GPUs to physically crack. Like, I mean, the actual GPU die itself cracking open and bricking the card, and there were dozens of them sent into a particular repair shop who has a YouTube channel, and he covered it and stuff. But one of the craziest things I've ever heard of, that a driver made a GPU crack. Still hasn't been like 100% confirmed, but it's like the only thing all of these GPUs had in common. So hopefully we can get some more word on that in the near future and figure out if that's actually what was happening, and just how the hell AMD managed to make their drivers so bad that they're breaking GPUs in half. Crazy stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Hope you guys all have a fantastic day. Please let me know your thoughts and everything on today's news stories down in the comments below, and I'll catch you next time for another video. Peace.